Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to Jamie Photography. So, spectacular Stonehenge. Wow, amazing place. We were recently here on one of my workshops, the English Medieval Cities Tour, a 10-day trip across the south of England where we picked up a number of beautiful cities such as Winchester and Bath and Salisbury. And whilst we were in Salisbury, not too far away from Stonehenge on Salisbury Plain, we took the opportunity to go up there and shoot the scene. So Stonehenge is a prehistoric megalithic structure in Wiltshire in England, and it dates back to about 5000 BC. So it's been there a while. It's a great place to go and visit. It's in the middle of a wide plain, and it has phenomenal scenery around it. But when we were there, it didn't quite look like this. We turned up early in the morning to try to shoot the stones before sunrise, but it was very grey sky, and we were struggling with the light. So we hung around for another hour or two, by which point a lot of people had arrived, and the conditions did improve, the light did improve, and you can see that we got some good light on the stones, which is what we were looking for, trying to get some sort of light coming from the east there. But with a lot of people in the scene, certainly means that we're going to have to use some of the phenomenal tools that are available to us now in Photoshop and Lightroom. So what we're going to do is we're going to transform that image into this. The raw image is down below. You'll find a link down below in the comments where you can download this raw image, and you can follow along. You will need to find your own sky. You can do that by going onto Google, typing in starry sky, and clicking on images, and you'll be able to find one there. Alternatively, if you'd like to purchase my skies, you can go to my website. Here it is, and in there you will find sky packs, and the night sky pack is the only one that's in there at the moment. I'm still working on my sunset pack. I want it to be really, really good, so I want to make sure I've got the best images for you. And if you just click on there, you can see the sort of images that are available, and you can download them in JPEG for a relatively low price, and you can also get them at much higher resolution DNG if you want to as well. A little bit more money, but still trying to keep it reasonable for everybody. Whilst you're here, you can pop along and have a look at my gear. You can also have a little bit to find out about me, and also you can look at my gallery and go through some of my images in there. Hopefully you'll take a moment just to go and have a look. Anyway, back to this video. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, it'd be great for you to join me on this journey I'm having. I'm still having a great time, and if you do like the video, then please click like, and if you have the moment, please leave a comment. Always interested to hear what you've got to say. I like some of the questions that you have, and also sometimes you give some pretty good tips, so I try to use those tips as I learn as we go on our way. Okay, let's get started. So my normal workflow is to go straight down to the denoise under the details section and click denoise, and we will run the denoise algorithm on this image. Now you might say, well, why bother? We're at ISO 100, so the noise levels will be very low. But it's surprising how much improvement we get even when we're using low ISO. I think it's worth about 4 to 5 stops of noise gain, so it really does improve the noise floor in the image. So because it's ISO 100, I'm just going to go in at, say, 35%. Not going to go too hard on this. I'm going to create a stack, so this image will just be put behind the new noise reduction image. So I'm going to click it, enhance. It's just going to run through that algorithm, and then it will show itself as an NR file.dng. So we'll just wait for that to appear. There we go, enhanced noise reduction. So that image now has been done. Next thing I normally do is perspective, but in this case the perspective is pretty good. Everything is upright because we did shoot at 35mm, so we don't really have any distortion. What I will do is check my level. I'm just going to go into the crop tool. I'm going to take this little angled tool that you can see here, little spirit level, and I'm just going to click on one side where I can see the horizon, and I'm going to go across to the other side, holding down the mouse button, and just let go there, and it will just make sure that it's perfectly level, and it is perfectly level, so no changes to be made there. Now I've got my rule of thirds grid here because I'm in my crop tool and I set it up to show this grid. So I really would like to have the horizon on this rule of thirds, this bottom one, and I would really like to have Stonehenge symmetrical here. So I'm just going to bring down the top just a little bit. I don't want to go too far because I want plenty of sky here. And then I'm just going to bring the bottom up to get that line on the horizon, and then we've got a relatively balanced image, a little bit, perhaps a little bit more to that way, just so Stonehenge is equal in that shot. And I'm just going to bring that down a little bit and across a little bit just to make sure that we're on that horizon and that Stonehenge is well balanced, which I think it is there. I'm going to hit return and that grabs the image. Now, unfortunately, we couldn't get there before dawn. I was looking forward to trying to get there you know, before the sun came up, but it was quite cloudy and grey. So the morning improved as we stayed there longer, and we did get a little bit of sunshine. Now, I just wanted some sunshine because I'd like some light on the stones, and I'll show you why. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take it back to a before dawn shot and put the starry sky in that we were hoping to see. So first things we're going to do is obviously get rid of these people. Now, I just need to increase the contrast ever so slightly. Now, you can do that by sliding the contrast slider up. You could do that. Or what you can do is just increase the highlights to make the sky brighter. And what that does is gives us a really defined edge for the sky when we go into sky replacement in Photoshop. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of about 10 points on contrast and 50 points on highlights. So we've got quite a nice edge to the two parts, the ground and the sky. So the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to go over into Photoshop to remove these people and replace the sky. Now you might say, well, this is the new version of Lightroom, and in there we do have the functions for generative AI and detect images to remove. But to be absolutely honest with you, the Photoshop algorithm is a better algorithm than the Lightroom when it comes to removing things. Lightroom does a reasonably good job, but I have to say I prefer going into Photoshop. And I can just demonstrate why. We'll go with use generative AI, we'll go with detect objects, and we'll select these people. Nice and simple, just come across there, select those people. We've got object detection switched on as well, so it will detect that there's people there, as you can see. And then I'm just going to click remove, and it's going to run the generative AI, and it's going to remove them. Now, let's see what it comes up with. So I'm just going to undo that. So Command or Control Z to undo, take us back. So it wasn't too bad, but let's go over into Photoshop. So I'm going to right click, edit in, and I'm going to go to edit in Photoshop 2025. So the latest update of Photoshop is now available to download. If you want to know how to download it and you are using the Creative Cloud pack, then what we can do is go into the little Creative Cloud here, and then you can just click on apps on the left hand side, view any updates, and it will tell you what the updates are. So you can see I'm fully up to date here. So you can always check that out if you want to find out whether you're updated or not. So here we are, we're in Photoshop. So just going to get rid of my Nick Collection 7 palette there, not using that in this video. So what we're going to do is going to do the same thing again, but this time we're going to go into the remove tool, click J, and you can just right click there and select remove tool, and I can select these people in here using the remove tool. So we could just go in like this, like normal if we wanted to, and we could select them and remove them. Okay, but with the new update to Photoshop 2025, they have actually added a new function to the main version of Photoshop, which is find distractions. So you can see it got rid of it, put some mountains in the distance there. I'm just going to undo that. So that's the normal way of doing it. But what we can do is go up to find distractions here. You can see find distractions, and you can remove cables and wires if they're in the shot. And I showed that on my last video. And you can also use people. So if I click people, you see it automatically detects where the people are. It's done that there. But there are a couple of people it missed over here. Couldn't really see those. They're quite small. So just going to zoom in slightly. And I'm just going to make the brush just big enough to cover these people over here. I'm just going to click 3 times. So those people are covered, and we can zoom back out. So what we can now do is click the check mark at the top here, and it will now process to remove those people. So off it goes. So it's quite good at finding people. If you have multiple people in the foreground, so they look like the subject, it doesn't pick up on it. But certainly if they're in the distance, it can pick up on it. And you can see here what it's done. It's not particularly good. It did get rid of the people, but it sort of left a strange sky. We need it more like the one on the left. So I could clone that over, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use generative fill, a good old favorite trusty, and I'm just going to go in and we're going to select a lasso tool, and we're just going to zoom in on these people here. So, and pull this across. So we just want to start off with the lasso tool. Keep it relatively tight. You don't need to go really, really tight. Once you're down onto the grass, it matters less, because of course the grass is sort of one sort of chaotic pattern. So it's actually quite easy for generative fill to fill where there's just sort of grass style. So I'm just going to come down there, show that there's a bit of that horizon in there. Over the top of these, there's vehicles there over the top of these people's heads. And we just go up through there. So just say using the lasso tool and just finding my way around. I'm going to come down here, include that bit there. So that allows us to, it allows the generative fill to realize using these 2 points that we want to keep that background the same. What you can do is go to select and mask once you've got your initial mask on there. Once you're in here, you can go down to the third brush here, which is the brush tool. And what we can do is we can brush in anything else that we want to be included in this shot here. So I'm just going to come over and take this person out here. So we're just adding that to the mask effectively. And if we hold down the Alt on Windows, Option on a Mac, we can do the opposite. We can bring more of the area that we don't want to be masked into the shot, so that we can keep that background working quite well. So depending on how much effort you want to put in, depends on how much you want to actually, mask out these areas. But certainly I just want to get in quite tight here and just make sure that we've got a pretty good mask to work with. So I'm just going to come up through there. I'm going to come over the top of these people, down through here, just get that area at the back there. So we're literally just picking off the people as we go. I don't really want that van in the shot, but I'll keep it in there for now, because we can take it out in a little while when we come back. Let's just move this over. You hold down the space bar, still holding down the Option or Alt key. So we're going to come in there and just put that part of the mask, part of the picture back in from the mask. There we go. So we got a pretty good mask there. So we're just going to click OK on that. So there we go. It's broken down into the ones that we've got all the people there. Then we can do generative fill and generate. There we go. That's option 1. That's option 2. That's option 3. We just zoom back and just have a look what matches the other side. We've got a bit more light on this side, so we could say that one's pretty good, or that one's pretty good. But of course you can always generate another 3 just by clicking generate again. There we go. So this is the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then we've got the original 3. If we carry on going, we've got the original 3 there. So I think I'm going to go with this one. I think that's the nicest one there. What you can do is go up into the options window, into properties. It will show you the one you've got highlighted, number 6, and you'll see there's a little up arrow to the top left corner. You can just click that to enhance the detail, and it will just add more detail to the shot as well. And if you zoom in, you'll see here there is some tidying up to do, but you'll see this is here. And if I go back one there, you can see that's the before and the after. So it does add quite a bit more detail into those shots. We just need to tidy this up. So I'm going to do that with the remove tool. So we're going to go back over to the remove tool in here, select remove tool. We're going to go back onto the background layer here, and I'm going to just right click and just merge the visible so that the generative fill layer is now included. And I'm just going to take a small brush and just tidy up some of the bits and pieces that the tool didn't do particularly well. So here we go, and I'm just going to take out those fence posts there. That's it. And back over to where we had the top of the van showing. Now what you can do is you can, when you're in the generative tool, you can select sample all layers and you can untick remove after each stroke. That way you can just work your way around and then sort of mark out the things that you want to be removed. Here we go. I'm just sort of picking on the things that need just to be sorted. And then once you're ready, you can click the check mark and it will work them out for you. So just going to make sure we've got that sorted. That's good. And did we get the people over here in the end? No. So we're just going to get rid of those people. There we go. Just highlighting those. A couple of bits of, I think that might be a bird down there. So just take that out. And they're gone as well. So we'll zoom back out. That's it. Now there's a bird on top of the stones there. Just going to remove that one. That's fine. So the other thing I want to try to remove before we go any further as well is I think these big sort of holes in the ground are a little bit distracting. I'd rather it was smoother grass, and it was quite difficult because the number of people that were there later on to actually capture that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just taking a couple of marks over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove these. Now, they're too big really for the remove tool, so we will have to go back to generative fill. So I'm just going to go back to the lasso tool, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw around the objects that I want to remove, like so, leaving plenty of grass around so it's got plenty to work with. And I'm just going to come through there. That's it. I'm going to click generative fill and generate. That's option 1. Option 2, option 3. Now it's between 2 and 3. I think I'll go with option 3, but what I will do is I will just enhance the detail. So I'll click that. It will do that. Now we'll go over to this side and we'll do the same again. But what we'll do is just come up into that lit area there, generative fill and generate. That's option 1, option 2, option 3. I think option 3 works quite well. I'm just going to click the enhance detail. So we've got that detail in there. Super. So a couple of last little touches just before we do the sky replacement. I'm going to go back into the remove tool here. Just going to bring all of these down into merge visible. So we've got them all together. We don't need that one. So I'm just going to delete that layer. Yes, and now we've got the remove tool. Just a couple of little tidy ups, a couple of little marks. Just make sure we've got no bits or pieces around. I'm just going to take this bit out over here as well. There we go. Just going to click the check mark so it will tidy that up. That's good. And the last few bits, just a little bit along the bottom here. Hit the check mark and we will just remove that area at the bottom. So now we've got a nice flat piece of grass, no people in the shot. Now I'd like to do the sky replacement. So I'm just going to click edit and go to sky replacement. Now in sky replacement, it will bring up whatever image was last in use here. So here's one shot of the night sky. Let me just move that over there and we'll bring the whole shot in. So that doesn't look particularly realistic with the moon there. So I'm just going to go down and pick another night sky from my night sky pack. This one looks pretty good. Quite happy with that. So we just need to fine tune the selection to make sure it fits in. There's something over here which is part of the original image. So I'll just need to, it's a hill there or something. Just need to make this slightly bigger. So I'm just going to click away from the selection box. Now I've got this one. I can flip it left to right. I can click the little flip mark, check mark here and move it from left to right. But I really want most of the light coming from the left because we've still got that light on the stone. So I'm going to go around this way. Just make sure that we're getting this out the way. So I'm just going to increase the scale ever so slightly. So we're just going to go up to until that disappears. There we go. And what I can always do is grab this guy and just move it down a little bit if I want to, and bring this light into the center if that's what we want to do. I'm not sure. I quite like having this sort of orange over here, which looks quite realistic, and there's that little bit of cloud bleaching through. I can move the shift edge to give us a little bit less of that cloud if we want to, or we can move it back a little bit closer to the center so we get a little bit more of that. Fade edge is quite useful. If you move it all the way to the left, you get quite a tight edge, and if you move it all the way to the right, then you get more of the background coming through where we had the clouds. But in this case, I'm actually going to go slightly to the right. I'd like to have the sky coming down. We can increase the temperature if we want to add in a little bit more orange into the sky. In this case, I think actually a little bit more blue will work. So we'll just go the other way slightly. There we go. That looks very realistic. And I'm just going to darken the sky as well. So because we want to darken the whole image and relight it later. So I'm just bringing that down. And then underneath you've got foreground lighting, edge lighting and color adjustment. The multiplier will relate to the foreground lighting. So at the moment, if the further right I go, the more of a cutoff we get. If I go to screen, it turns it to the opposite. So we go bright here and then I move the forelighting to the other direction. So you can play around with those to get different effects. In this case, I think multiply works very well. So I'm just going to move that over to the right. You've got the edge lighting. If I move that all the way to the edge, you can see the edge along there will be illuminated more or less. So again, you can move those sliders just to suit yourself. And color adjustment takes the color of the sky and applies it to the foreground the further right you go. So in this case, I can go a bit further over to the right there. Now, once you're happy with that, you just want to zoom in and make sure that you've got a good edge and we're not bleeding over onto the stone. So I've just selected the magnifying glass here, and I'm just going to come in relatively close, and we're just going to go through and check that we've got reasonably good. Yeah, that's pretty good. A little bit of an overlap there. So, yeah. We can just go to the refine tool and just pick up on those if we want to. Just take those out. There we go. And you do that by selecting the Option or Alt key to hold down to give it a negative. So you can just make sure that nothing's bleeding through into that sort of foreground area. So just make it into a negative there, and you can just sweep along there. So that's fine. So that's good. So we'll zoom very close there. So I'm just going to go back. So to zoom back, you select the same magnifying key. You hold down the Option Alt key, and that will give you a negative. If you don't, you got a positive. If you do, you got a negative. So you can zoom in and out. So that's fine. Okay. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to select duplicate layer, not new layers, because new layers will give you a layer for every part of the sky replacement. If I just click OK, it will put it in and it will call it the background copy. And that is now the image that we're going to work with going back into Lightroom. So I don't need the background. I generally get rid of the spare layers. So I'm just going to delete the background layer. And yes, I'd like to delete that. So I've just got a single layer, and I just do that to keep the file size a little bit smaller. So we're happy with that. We're going to go to File. We're going to go to Close because I want to close it inside Photoshop. And I'm going to click Save, and then it's going to put it back into Lightroom. There we go. So there's the image now corrected. So let's just do a quick post-process on this to finish this image off. The real trick here is to darken the scene and lighten the scene slightly. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go into the basic functions here. I'm just going to darken the whole scene slightly. I'm going to come down about probably around about 0.5. And then we're going to open up the shadows. That will bring the stones alive, as you can see now in the foreground. And then where do we go with the highlights? Do we bring the highlights down or bring the highlights up? So I think we're going to bring the highlights up just a little bit, probably around about +50, so we get this area of the Milky Way illuminated behind there. But I want to darken the top of the screen down, so I'm going to go into masks. I'm going to take a linear gradient, and we're going to pull a linear gradient down from the top, like so. And then we can just darken that down just a little bit more. And I'm going to add a little bit of blue into that sky up there as well. Just keep that blue. Looks pretty good. And then I'm going to duplicate this this linear gradient. So duplicate the mask one. And this second one we're going to make a little bit shorter. So coming in at the top. So it's quite dark towards the top there. There we go. So just darkening down that top even more. You can bring it down. Good. So what I also want to do is create a new mask and select the sky. So we can pick up on the whole sky. I don't want anything on the stones. So I'm just going to hit the 3 dots next to sky in the mask. And I'm going to intersect this mask with another sky. And that will give you a tighter crop on the edges there, as you can see. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add in some clarity for that sky. So more clarity you give, the more the stars will pop in the sky. Works very well. I'm going to go about 50, quite high on the clarity, and I'm going to add in a little bit of texture just so the stars really pick out, probably about 3. There we go. Excellent. So the last few things to do is to really just consider the lighting around this area here. The stones are quite bright, so we might want to just take a little bit off of these stones. And the best way to do that is create another mask, select object, make the brush a little bit bigger, and just go in here on the stones with the object selection brush, like so, and just pick up on where they're quite bright. Object selection will do that. I'm going to add another object to this so we can add in all of the stones here. So just want that bit there, crossing over there. There you go. Add in another object, selection mask here, a little bit bright in there. Add in another one. Pick up on these bright edges here. And the last 2 is going to be this edge here of that stone. And we're going to add one more object brush here just to pick up on these bright edges over here. So now they're all selected. What we can do is we can just go up to exposure and we can just bring them down just a little bit. Yeah, we can take the highlights off them a little bit as well. So they're not quite so bright. That works quite well because we can always relight them with a radial in a second. So I like the way the light's pooling around here. Perhaps we could put a little bit more light in this foreground. To do that, I think we need to darken the foreground first slightly. So create a linear gradient. We will pull the linear gradient up from the bottom. Let's go off at an angle slightly so it lights this area is a little bit lighter there. There we go. I don't want to darken the sky, so I'm going to subtract the sky from the mask. There we go. And then we're just going to darken that down a little bit more. So it sort of changes from lighter to darker. Can you see that over from there to there? So you've got this little bit more detail going on in this area here. So we just need to pick those stones out a little bit more. So we're going to create a radial gradient. Going to select the stones as a whole, like such. And then I'm going to just brighten that up just a little bit more. I don't want the sky, so 3 dots, select, intersect mask with the sky. And then I make sure the invert's not selected on that. So I could do that. I could also subtract the sky as well. Either way, it doesn't matter. I need to make these stones pop more. So I'm going to go down and put some more clarity in there. Not too much, a little bit of texture. And maybe just open up the highlights just slightly so that they're well illuminated. There we go. Probably a bit too bright, but that's about right. And just going to bring that exposure down slightly. Right, I think we're there. I'm just going to go down to the post-crop vignette under effects and just darken the edges of this scene. Remember to take the feather to 100% to just blend it out. And then we can just finalize the image by going back to basics looking at the color situation and also looking at the brightness. So I'm just going to do my blacks and whites, going to hold down the Option or Alt key and move the white slider till I see a couple of stars in the sky, very gently there, that's it. And the same, I'm going to bring the black down. We're actually seeing quite a bit of black anyway in that shot, so I don't want too much more black in there. That works okay. Just going to brighten the scene itself ever so slightly so we can see the stones. Bring those highlights down just a little bit. There we go. And just to get the final touch, and this is something I do quite often, is take the saturation slider and bring it down quite a bit, like almost half it. So here I've gone to -50 from where we were. And then what we're going to do is take the vibrant slider and like increase that by the similar amount, sort of 50%. There we go. And once you've done that, you get quite a difference in the way the color sits. Then you can bring the saturation back up ever so gently until you see the color that you want in the scene. In this case, I quite like the green. It's a bit much, but I can go down to the color mixer here, choose saturation, and just drop off the green slightly, about -10. I can add in some more orange, be specific here with the orange saturation, just bring that orange up a little bit. And I can also put some of the blue back into the sky, and not too much, don't want to overdo it. There we go. I think that works quite well. I might choose, just to finish off, to crop this image just a little bit more. So I'm just going to come in a little bit from this side, come down a little bit from this side. Same this side, just going to come up and then come down, because we want the stones to dominate the scene. Hit return, and there we go. We've got scene of Stonehenge at night. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. It was a bit quicker one this week because there wasn't a huge amount to do on this shot. We had a great time on our Medievals English Cities workshop a couple of weeks ago, and we stopped over, as you can see, at Stonehenge, and got some good shots. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please click like, and always like to see your comments and any questions that you might have, as well as any tips. So feel free to drop those down below as well. And if you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to join me here on YouTube and subscribe to my channel. It'd be much appreciated. But for now, I'm going to say bye-bye.